Hey, and welcome to the first ever episode of Vivit Talks. So, this is a brand new series that's going to be a live stream as well as a podcast. So, we're going to try and help as part of the We Support You campaign, which some of the large enterprises are doing to help you survive through this difficult period at the moment with some really good, cool hacks on different things you can try and do from a community perspective, from an education perspective. So, stuff that you can learn. And, so I have the great privilege of introducing the new initiative that Vivit Worldwide are doing for the community called the Customer uh, Awareness Campaign, which is going to be really around helping you provide content through these difficult times. So, let me introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Wright, the president of the Vivit Worldwide community. I've an active blogger and podcaster and technology evangelist. You can get me on my Twitter account, so underscore Jonathan Wright dot or you can connect to me on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/in/automation, nice and easy to get. And as you can see by the bottom corner, I'm on day 20 of isolation. So it's during the coronavirus time. It's the 1st of April. It's not an April Fool's Day. It's actually my birthday. So over here, you'll see that I've got a birthday card for my 40th birthday, which is here today, with the QA Lead podcast at the front of there. So, it's all about trying to get with the community and, help give you some new content that can keep you busy through April. So let me start by I'm going to share some basic information about what Vivit is and how you can get involved. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. So those who aren't familiar with Vivit, we've been going since 1993, so over 25 years. And if you can go to the website, which is vivit-worldwide.com.org, sorry, and you can navigate to join using the Join Vivit button. And what I've done is I pre-registered, so I'm a member of the Vivit community. I have been for the last 15 years. And I started off with a local user group community, but I'm going to give you a quick tour of how you can do that yourself. So first of all, you set up as a standard Vivit. It's going to ask you for a username, first name and last name. So I've already registered, so I'm going to register as somebody else. So let's just put my username in as Mr. Wright. With a bit of a spelling. So Mr. Wright, so Jonathan, and then Wright, misspell, obviously. And then I can pick which user group I want to be part of. So you can see there, we've got Brisbane, we've got Finland, we've got Chicago, the Windy City, Israel. There's over 125 countries which users are there. We're the biggest, largest independent software community. So anyway, I'm going to select one. So I'll put Brisbane, as I got my 40th message from Stuart Moncrief, a good friend of mine, who runs myloadtest.com. He's out in Melbourne, so big shout out to him this morning. So I'm just going to say I'm not a robot, which I'm not. I have been referred to as the automation cyborg before, but for the podcast series, which is theqalead.com, if you want to go and check that out. Anyway, so I can fill in this detail, which is my username, my password, and then it's going to ask some basic details around me. So kind of where I'm based. So that's around your local user groups. How many years you've been using the products, and what you're interested in. So I'm not going to go bore you through that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in to give you an idea of what you do. So here's one that I made earlier, which was Jonathan at coronavirus.fo, which you can email me if you want to with that email. And let's log me in. Okay, so I've logged in for the first time. I can select what information I've got. So this is a more of a privacy component. So we originally had 70,000 users at its peak. We now have about 40,000 active users on the site. But you can say what information you want to receive by email. So, do you want information from other people? Do you want information about your groups that you're interested in? So you can quickly come here, save all your settings, and go straight into it. So now that it's been updated, I can go back to the website and I'm signed in. So I've got a few options what I can go and look at. I can look at one thing, which is the local user groups. So local user groups are based in your region. So I'm going to quickly go and explore of which local user groups. So I'm clicking on the local user groups, view local user groups for those who are on the podcast and can't see. And what you see with the map, once you've navigated to that, is everywhere where you can possibly do it. So there's, you can see Mauritius is in there, Hawaii is in there, French Polynesia, all places that I wouldn't mind having a local user group for. And then all the other places across the globe. So you can pick any of these locations which fit you best. So I'm just going to put, Silicon Valley, as it was based out there for a while. And you can see straight away what's been happening. So the local user group is running on the April the 22nd, so not that far away. Is literally, it's going to run a virtual meeting around automate complexity, boost release velocity. So that sounds quite interesting. I can add that to my, I can register and add that to my board, or I can, continue to look. So that's kind of local user groups. But because of the coronavirus and the outbreak, they're now becoming virtual meetups. So you can still meet, you still can register for these, and you'll still be able to see them in the upcoming calendar area. So you don't have to be a member of the virtual that particular group to register for that particular content. So that's quite exciting. So let's go and learn a little bit about what Vivit does, right? So I'm going to start with the board of directors. So this kind of gives you a bit of an update on who's there and to support you. So everyone on the list is a volunteer, so it's a non-for-profit, and we volunteer our time to help support the software community. Of course, the first one on the list is Jonathan Wright. I've just introduced myself. The next one is Mark Ford. Mark is VP of Operations, so he looks out for the operational stuff. So we have a number of staff, which I'll go through in a second, who without them, it wouldn't be possible. A good friend of mine, Todd DiCaprio, he's our VP of Strategy and Innovation, and he's based out in Delaware, and New York State, so he kind of covers that area. We got our first of two Chris's. The first Chris is our treasurer, and he makes sure that we run as a charity kind of non-for-profit, and we work within those guidelines. The previous president, Richard Bishop, he's based in the UK, and he's had a quite a long term as president, but now he's acting secretary. Mark Herbert is advocacy, so I think I might have mentioned. So over here, if I'm going to have to slightly get out of the way, you can see there's the pillars, the advocacy, community, and education are the three pillars that we run by. He's the advocacy chair for the year. Bob Cruz is our community chair. Bob is also the CEO of Checkpoint Technologies, who's a partner. We also have Chris Trimper. Chris is the education chair, and he said that I've just noticed on Twitter that he's and Slack that he's going to join me on the next podcast live Vivit Talks. So that'd be great to have Chris on there. He's going to talk to you about all the education content that we're looking to launch throughout April. I think finally Chris Carpenter, who deals with the communications. So we've got a lot of new, fresh content coming through, which I kind of wanted to share with you today, but also kind of tell you some of the content what's available. So I've talked about local user groups and how you can sign up and get involved with those. I've also mentioned that there's the special interest groups. So if you're interested in a particular area, you can come down here and sign up to a particular area. So if you're interested in analytics or AI or project management or something like DevOps, you can sign up for the specialist interest group. So I actually ran the British Computer Society specialist interest group yesterday, first ever virtual event, 100 attendees from the British Computer Society. We had Lisa Crispin speaking as keynote, and Lisa was on the show, so the QA Lee show. I interviewed her quite recently, and we also had Ian from IBM who are talking about some of the good work they're doing with Watson and to help with the coronavirus and look at see if they can dedicate some CPU time towards that, which is great. So I'm going to pick one that I'm interested in. So performance engineering SIG. So if I go to the performance engineering SIG, I can see, okay, so the next event that's up for the performance engineering one is organizations starting to look at DevOps toolchain. So this is done by Malcolm Isaac. I did a session with Malcolm. He's an analyst. We did the World Quality Report for 2019-2020. I'd definitely check that out. It's a great read. So he'll be talking that. Again, if you can't make these are all completely on demand. So I'm just going to nip back to the Vivit page, and you can see the webinar recordings will have a list of all the webinars. If we scroll down further, you'll get information about what's coming up next. So you can just register for those individual events. You've got the social media live stream of all the what's going on. And you can obviously navigate through any of these sections and sign up to our YouTube channel. So this is where we're live streaming now. But we also have a very active Twitter account. You'll have seen from the start scene, which I'll just flick back to give you an idea of the contact details. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see @Vivit Worldwide is the Twitter account. You got the Facebook account, Vivit Worldwide, all one word. And then Instagram is vivit.worldwide. And, the easiest way, if you've not already looking at the live stream on YouTube, because we've uploaded as of a new initiative, we've uploaded all the content, what you can see on the website, straight up onto the actual YouTube channel. So you can search for it on there and get loads of great content, which is really useful. So I was going to talk to you about some of these initiatives that we're planning to do for 2020, starting off today, April Fool's Day. Actually, yep, it's 11 still in the UK, so it could be a class as an April Fool. But yeah, so some of the content that we're doing, we're going to do the Vivit Talks, which is what we're talking about now, which is going to talk about hacks on things that you can do. So things like education, stuff that you can learn and, follow some kind of some training materials, some, good guides to go and check out, some good content that we've seen on things like Tech Beacon or any other website. We also have we're going to create virtual SIGIS, so the virtual what we're calling virtual clinics. So we'll do a virtual performance clinic, for instance, so get people like Todd DiCaprio and other performance experts in there, so we can ask them questions about what they're doing. So maybe we'll get someone we've already had offers for things like the automation SIGIS from people like Paul Grossman and other pillars in the community. So I'm actually on the test automation experts Slack channel, so you can go and register on that. That was an initiative from Iran, from Perfecto, but my good friends are on there, like Alan Page, who wrote the book on how Microsoft tests, and loads of other automation gurus. We're going to get those guys on the virtual clinics so you can come in and spend your time and ask them questions that you need help with whilst you're self-isolated. As you can see, day 20, but I'm sure 28 days later from now, it'll be all very interesting, and hopefully the beard will have grown even longer. So I shaved it off to start, and I'm now building it up, and I won't shave until I'm let back out in the wild. So virtual clinics is number one. The second one is virtual industry events. So this is going to be really interesting because we're going to be doing events that are specific to a particular vertical. So that could be healthcare, financial services, or retail. And we'll get those industry experts in, so people like Malcolm Isaac to talk about the view of what they're seeing in retail, or what they're seeing in financial services, what the big trends are. But also, more importantly, we'll get people from the actual healthcare, like for instance Chris Trimper, our education chair, is in healthcare, so we'll get him in to talk about things like, well, what are the tools difference? What's some of the challenges in healthcare? What are the different platforms that you could potentially look at? So that'll be all great information for the virtual industry event. So again, you don't have to leave the sofa. You can enjoy this content on demand. So you could also, with the podcast, you'll be able to register and subscribe to that. So that'll be on Apple podcasts. It'll be on Google Podcasts. It'll be on Spotify, all the normal channels. You'll be able to hit subscribe and go straight into it. So they're the kind of the main big three virtual events that we're going to try and run for you whilst we're in there here. And also, as you saw there before, virtual local user groups. So if you can't make, we won't be able to, due to social distancing, we won't be able to actually run the local user groups until the Aberdare is finished. But in the meantime, you can still attend those virtually. We're using things like Slido, so you can still talk, ask questions, make it interactive. So yeah, those events will still go ahead, as well as the specialist interest groups. They'll still go ahead, but we'll get the virtual clinics, the virtual industry events, which will both be new, and this podcast series, which will also be new. So we'll try and get people in from the staff and also on the board as well. So I'll quickly jump back, actually, so we can just give a quick shout out to our Vivit staff, because without them it wouldn't be possible. So we got a new member of staff who's Iris. Actually, I'll jump onto our slides because they're probably a little bit more clearer. So we got Stephanie. Stephanie's our engagement director, so she helps with really helping coordinate the teams, as well as getting engagement from you, the end community. Jill is our marketing director. She's actually working on a promo at the moment to advertise CAP, which is this customer awareness program which we're doing to really help bring new content for 2020. Rocky deals with our sponsorship, so he wouldn't be possible to host you in all the different locations and all the venues without sponsorship through our partners. So he makes that possible. Terry is our engagement coordinator, so she deals with relationships with our partners and everyone across the US. Iris covers Europe, so she's based in Germany. But then we've also got Rhonda, who deals with all our digital content. So that's making sure you get your newsletters and articles what are coming through, and all that fresh content. So that's really great. So quickly jumping back onto here, a quick shout out for those who kind of didn't get attend the virtual customer days back in December. So this was kind of day one, and I kind of give you my t-shirt on straight out of Wuhan. So part of it was back in December when this all kicked off. We ran our first virtual customer days, which is why we're so kind of prepared now for being able to provide you this content virtually. So this was our first event of running 2 days with thought leaders in the space talking about ADM, so application delivery management, and ITOM, so IT operations management. So those two separate, big product areas. So if you think of DevOps, you've got development, operations, it's the whole life cycle, right? And these were the top guys. You can see in the top left-hand corner on the ADM stuff is Pearl Grossman, who'll be helping us with some of the automation stuff. We had some great content over those 2 days, and you can view that content now. You can also view the Q&A, live Q&A sessions. And this wouldn't have been possible without Joe Colantonio, good friend, who helped host it. So he's the host of Test Guild. So you may have seen the performance, security, and of course automation blog podcasts. So definitely go and check out Test Guild if you've not checked that out already. So as you know, we also do blogs, very active on social media. So I'm going to kind of give you an idea of certain things that we've had done. So I'll go into my blog, which I try and keep up to date. So, there was 2 events. The first one was the IT operation. The second one was the IT operations one. So it was the most recent one. So we had a whole stack of social media. So you can see the tweet there coming out from Jill. And just the wealth of locations that I was there. So, you can see up there, I was in Canary Wharf, I was at Friends Fest, I was traveling on some train, plane, or wherever it was. You can see me dressed as a Jedi. I got a very funny 3D version of myself here, which is quite entertaining. So, very limited edition. I'm sure you can have one if you'd like it. I've also got the Mercury Man. So for those people, so we started off back in 1993 as the OpenView community. Then we became the Mercury community. So for those guys who got one of these toys for speaking at a Mercury World event, like Joe and like Paul. So yeah, these are kind of. I've not got out and played with him, even though it is my 40th today. So I do feel like I should have presents to open. But yeah, so we became the Mercury community. Then we became the Hewlett Packard community and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and now we're the Micro Focus community. So yeah, we've transitioned over those 25 years. As you can see here, this is me talking about unicorns and advertising the launch of the virtual customers. Unfortunately, because I'm self-isolating, I can't be swimming around with a unicorn for this particular announcement. At the bottom, I've got a picture of us running an event in South Africa. So during that time, and actually I was supposed to be in South Africa today. I was supposed to be landing to do a conference on business process automation for IT web tomorrow, but unfortunately my flights have been grounded due to the kind of the challenge. So there's a whole stack of really good content here. It's quite fun, lighthearted. Go check it out. It's really worthwhile. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. What I don't want to do is kind of give you too much information overload. This is kind of the April 1st 40th edition / prologue. The next one I'll try and get Chris on, but what I thought I'd do is kind of give you some tips. I did put a blog out and ask people what they're interested in. Some of them were talking about things like homeworking. So one of the challenges with homeworking was, well, how do I do more with less? So, I've got 6 screens here, but I wanted to give people some tips on, maybe if they're not used to this kind of this homeworking, then how do you potentially leverage some of your technology that you might already have in your house, but for to leverage, to make the most out of it. So let me kind of give you some ideas of what kind of content we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Duo or Duet, which allows you to use your iPad or tablet as a second screen. So if you've only got one screen and you want multiple screens, then I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to leverage an old Mac. So this is an old generation Mac which I'm using to connect all these mobile phone devices to. So if you're doing mobile testing, then that's an option you can do there. I'll probably touch some stuff on maybe IoT and how you can use something like the dash button to click and launch your test runs, for instance. I've got a Raspberry Pi here. I've actually got a Raspberry cluster here. But something as small as this would be able to give you the ability. So this is running Kali, which is a Linux variation for security and pen testing, but you can also use it for load injection. This one's used as Poison Ivory for security and penetration testing. So I'll give you some hints on that. And then, for those people who haven't got the kit and don't want to sit and build one of these boards and with enough memory to run, containers or Docker or whatever else it is, I'm going to give you some tips on how to just be able to spin VMs up in the cloud, which will give you as much power as you need, and then you can split those across your screen. So you can still do the tech you need without having to go out and buy any more stuff. But those guys who, or girls who actually then want to potentially do bring some of that stuff at home, I can show you how to set VPNs up, your NAS drives, your servers, whatever else you need. So now I'm going to try and give it, so it's stuff that we can actually do whilst you've got some time and you're working remotely. So lots of tips, lots of hacks, and lots of content. So remember to subscribe to YouTube, Vivit Worldwide channel to get the latest videos. Click and subscribe to the Apple podcast, or if you've not got an Apple device, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever else it is. And also make sure you register at vivit-worldwide.org to become part of the largest independent software community and make all this possible. So, thanks once again, a 40th birthday special. And yeah, look forward to having people on the show, and maybe we'll try and get some of the actual community on here as well. If you're interested, email me, go onto linkedin.com/in/automation. go to Twitter, DM me on Twitter, and yeah, let's make this happen. So thanks once again, and thanks to everybody who's a Vivit member.